I picked up a couple of these Bogen CHB-10A amplifiers. It's really pretty simple little amp. It has a 12AX7 and a 7868. You know, of course, the tubes. There's no tubes in these things. So, I mean, 12AX7, they're available. They're readily available. The 7868, though, is kind of a rare tube. It's a pentode. It's like a 19 watt tube, but they're kind of expensive for a new one. You can get used ones on eBay for like, I don't know, 25 or no 29 or $30, or you know, all the way up to $75 for used tubes. And you know, I haven't had very good luck with used tubes. There's also these Russian, on eBay they've got these Russian 6P41S's, and they say it's a substitution, but I've read mixed reviews about that. So what I'm going to try to do is I was looking in the forums, in the antique radio forums, and a substitution for the 7868 is a 7591. 7591. It's an octal base, though. These are what they call a Novar. It's like a 9-pin all glass tube for the 7868. The 7591 is identical electrically, but it's an octal 8-pin base. So what I'm going to try to do is substitute in one of these 7591s for a 7868. Since they're no longer making these 7868s, at least as far as I can tell, but the 7591s are still being made, and you can get them fairly cheap. A new one fairly cheap, about $18 on the Tube Depot. So, or Antique Electronics. So I'm going to try to do that in this video. Switch out a 7868 tube for a 7591. So I ordered a new 7591 from Antique Electronics and an octal tube base. I'm going to try to remove that tube, the Novar tube base, and substitute in this octal. See if we can do that. I measured it. It should fit. It was like within a millimeter, not even a millimeter, like a 1/16 of an inch. So, and then once I plug in the 12AX7, we should be good to go. And these things are really pretty simple circuit. So we should be able to figure out what pin goes where and substitute that in there. I mapped out the pins from this, you know, comparing the 7868 to the 7591, and you know, some of the pins on the 7868 are just duplicates. You know, like the second grid has just got 2 pins, and the the first grid's got 2 pins. So they're just like, I guess that's really the only difference, why they've got 9 pins instead of 8 pins, and then there's one pin that's not even used, the pin number 8. So we're going to try to See if we can get that to work with that different tube. Okay, I got everything disconnected, and I just marked everything with a piece of tape so I wouldn't forget. Also took a bunch of pictures so I would not forget what went where. Well, there's the new tube socket in there. One thing that's kind of confusing and I'm not sure about is this. Let's see, this 1 meg resistor. I don't know if you can see that in there. The way it was wired before, that went straight to the cathode, to the third grid. What would that be? Screen grid? Yeah. But on the schematic, it's after the 470 resistor. The way it was wired up before, it goes straight to that. So I've got it wired up that way. This resistor, this 1 meg resistor, going straight there. And it really should be in between those two, in between that resistor and the capacitor. So it's like it should be, according to the schematic, it should be over here. Right there, I think. So I'm going to try it the way it was and see what we get, and then if it doesn't work, we'll change it. Alright, I got the tubes in there, 12x7 and the 7591. I have just my speaker, my shop speaker, which is a Fender 12-inch speaker, wired into the 8 ohm output. It's kind of something that was kind of curious was this wire right here, which is supposed to determine it determines the impedance of this speaker jack. It was wired up onto the ground, so that wouldn't have been good. That's probably why, that might be why they retired this thing, because it was wired up wrong. So anyway, I'm ready to, I've got it plugged into my current limiter. The power switch is on. Are you ready to see what happens, Leroy? Think it's going to smoke?
I hope not.
Should I wear a face shield or something?
I hope no. Oh.
So we had a little bit of light.
Oh, how much though?
Just a little bit. I mean, that's probably, that might be normal. It's drawing 1 amp and 98 watts. That seems kind of high, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's going down though.
I smell something getting hot. I smell something getting, the speaker, there was definitely something coming from the speaker. I smell something getting hot though, so we better check into this. Thing on. Okay, I've got the tubes out, and I'm gonna turn it on with the tubes out just to see what happens here. I got some humming. It's humming like transformer hum. I don't have any light. I got 4 watts. What would be 4 watts? Just the transformer?
Could be.
It's humming. 4.5 watts. Well, I've got the 7591 tube socket in there, wired in, and got it plugged in, and I get some hum. It seems like it's working. Got a lot of hum. It sounds like it's working really good, but it's got some hum. So it's more than likely this filter capacitor needs to be changed now. So I was just checking. Some of these voltages seem really high. Like for example, that right there, 327 is supposed to be 315. No. Actually, let's see, that's on this side of that, so it should be 340. It's 327. I guess it's not too far off. 301, the one that says 315 right there is 301, so it's not too far off. It says on this schematic that the voltages are DC, measured with a voltmeter, of course. What else would you measure it with? And may vary by 20%. So I mean, that's pretty close. This one right here, 295. On the other side of that 1K resistor is supposed to be 305. That's not too bad. And then this 280. Let's see what this 280 is. .280 is 270. So, you know, they're in the ballpark. So I just need to work on this hum. But wow, it seems pretty loud. I guess it's 19 watts, so let's see if I can do something about that hum. So I wired my iPod into this, and yeah, definitely working. It's definitely working. So what do we got? We got 20. Half circles 20, 20 for square, 10 microfarads on triangle, and dash is 5. So 20, 20, 10, and 5. And they're all at, looks like they're all at 400, except the 20 is at 250. I don't know if you can see that or not, but that's what that says. So I'm going to try to jump something in there just to see if that makes a difference. Well, I tried substituting some capacitors, and I just jumped across with some capacitors that I had, some electrolytic capacitors, and it didn't really seem to make that much difference on the hum. So I think at this point I'm just going to I think once this is in the cabinet, it's a metal case. Once I get that in the case, and then also with the tube shield on the 12AX7, I think that will cut down on the hum some. We'll see what we got. Yeah, I mean, there are certain things you could do. Like I could probably do a little bit better job of twisting the 6-volt windings and maybe rerouting them a little bit away from some of the AC, or from some of the input lines. Those are twisted already, but I could probably do something like raise them up off the chassis. We'll play around with this here. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to replace this mic input and this phono input with some actual 1/4" jacks, and then also make the speaker output a 1/4" jack. I'm going to leave this here because that's pretty nice to be able to select between 4, 8, and 16 ohms. I'm not really sure what the 25V means. So unfortunately, what I'm going to have to do is drill out these rivets. That is going to be a pain, but that is what I'm going to have to do. I replaced the microphone input with this just a 1/4" jack. I was able to find a washer that fit the hole perfectly, so I put a piece of metal across there and then put that washer in there and then drilled it out. The phono input, I was just able to fit the jack right into that, and then I did basically the same thing for the output jack. It was that big hole first, or before, it was that big hole, and I was able to find a washer that fit right into the hole and put a piece of metal across the back and riveted it on there. So I basically did the same thing there as I did for the input jack. And let's see, I got the tube socket riveted in there, and the only thing is I've got a problem. It's an intermittent problem. It's blowing the fuse just intermittently. So I don't know what is going on. I never did replace the filter capacitors. It could be that. It just, when you turn it on, it has a hum, and my current limiter lights up. So that means it's shorting out. It could be that one of the capacitors or some of the capacitors are shorting out. Now that didn't explain. I'm not sure that explains why it worked. I mean, it was shorting out at first, and then it just started working magically, and then now it's shorting out again. It's blowing the fuse. So I'm not sure what is going on here. I may just try to check these capacitors. You know, when it was working, it sounded great. So I'm not sure what is going on. But let me dig into this a little bit further. Okay, well, it started working again. I have no idea why. All I did was take the tube out and stick it back in there kind of gently. I have no idea why it started working. Any ideas, Leroy?
No, not one. Don't touch it.
That sucker's hot. That thing is hot as a... That really is hot. I wonder if that should be that hot. The only thing I did, I took the tube out and stuck it back in. And that's kind of what happened the other night when it started working too. I wonder if that tube socket's got some kind of short or something in it.
It might.
That's as cool as can be. The capacitor is cool.
Oh.
It's not like it's shorting out or something. That's the regular input. That's the phono input. A lot cleaner.
Just to make sure.
I don't know. Okay, well, the problem was I was plugging the tube in wrong. This octal base is keyed, and I didn't think there was a way for me to plug it in wrong. But Leroy kept saying, "You're plugging that in wrong, Kevin." And I would say, "No, I'm not." And sure enough, I was plugging it in. This thing is just loose enough that it would accept the tube like one pin off. So anyway, it works now. It's working fine. It seemed like the tube was kind of hot. So I checked the bias on the tube, and here's my computation. The cathode resistor is 162.7 ohms. The schematic calls for, originally it was 150. And the voltage drop is about almost 10 volts, 9.94. And then the plate voltage was 296, so it gives me a plate dissipation of 18. Don't pay no attention to that average. That's if it's a push-pull 2-tube circuit. So it's 18 watts. On the tube chart, tube data sheet for this tube, the 7591, which is what's in there now, the maximum is 19 on plate dissipation, 19 watts. So, it might be kind of high at 18. I think you usually, you don't want to be right at the max. So it is under the max at 18 volts, 18 watts. So I think I'm just going to leave it like it is, 18 watts. I'm getting quite a bit of hum on the mic, the high output channel, and not so much on the low, the phono channel. And this thing originally had this long wire all the way from the phono all the way over here to the volume control for the phono. And I replaced it with some coax, some shielded cable all the way, just to because I knew that would be, using this wire would induce a lot of hum. So I didn't change it on the high output channel just because it's kind of a short run. So I think I'm going to go ahead and try to put some coax. It's that green and black wire right there, running to right there. And then from here, the phono channel goes through this pot right here, over to here through a resistor, and then that red wire right there is what goes to the second stage of the 12AX7. So I don't know. I don't know if I should change that. I'm just gonna try it. I'm not gonna change that red wire at this point. I'm just going to change that green and black wire to a piece of coax and see if that helps. Put a piece of shielded cable right there, and then from there the signal goes through that capacitor into the first stage of the 12AX7, and then it comes out on pin 1, which is that, through that resistor to the mic volume. Okay, I put a piece of shielded cable on the microphone input, and it still seems to have quite a bit of hum. I don't know, you think it's better?
Yeah, I think so.
You know, it probably makes a difference if there's an instrument plugged in. Let's try that.
You want me to go get that?
Yeah, do you mind?
I don't mind.
Okay, with an instrument plugged in, I mean there's hardly any hum at all, and that's with it about halfway up. So I think it's fine. The only other thing that could be shielded would be that little piece of wire, that little section after the 7 into the grid of the second stage of the 12AX7. That's that red wire, but that's also after the phono comes in. So I think it's going to be fine. Don't you think so, Leroy?
Yeah.
Well, this is how it ended up. This little Bogen Challenger. I was going to paint the case, but yeah, it has character. Someone had scratched 3001 in the top of it, so I don't know what that means. Probably his girlfriend's phone number or something. This one has a hole in the front. I'm not sure why. I've got 2 more of these, and neither one of them have that hole, so I don't know what's going on with that. Anyway, I just sort of cleaned the cabinet up a little bit. That's it. It makes a pretty nice little amplifier. Let's try it out again, Leroy. Okay. Here's this thing. This Bogen Challenger. That's with on 3 on the mic input. Using a Strat. Sounds pretty good. Get a little bit more breakup. Then you just go into insanity land here. This sounds pretty good. Okay, let's put it in the phono input and see what we got. Okay, this is the phono input. Quiet, a lot quieter, cleaner. crank that all the way up and it stays clean. I just switched to a double coil pickup there. So you can get some breakup with a double coil pickup. But it's clean, it's pretty clean. So that's it.
Yep.
That's it for the Bogen Challenger model CHB-10A.